Welcome to another episode of Comic Book Savant Video. I'm your host, James Harris. This episode, we're going to be doing a review on the latest release from the Warner Brothers animated division, which is Batman Gotham by Gaslight. If you're unfamiliar with this is their origin of DC's Elseworlds. This was the first story that was told under the Elseworlds label. That we got these alternate versions or alternate stories of different heroes in different points in time. Most notably, most of the Elseworld stories in the beginning anyway were based off of Batman or Superman. And this is the first and also one of the most notoriable ones or most notable stories to carry the Elseworld tag because it was the first. This was originally developed by Brian Augustine and drawn by Mike Mignola, which we know from Hellboy fame. This is one of the first times they've, delved into the Elseworld stories. We've known with the DC animated films, they've delved into the New 52 and other particular storylines that's kind of in the main continuity. But this is the first time that they've delved into Elseworlds, which was cool to see. Now, me personally, I never read the original Gotham by Gaslight. It was just, I heard stories about it, but it was hard to find when I was collecting physical comics, and just since it's been in digital media, it was just one of those things, like certain things fly under your radar, things you want to get to reading but you don't. So this was my first chance to sit down and kind of see it and reading it, seeing it as an animated film. We have this film was directed by Sam Liu, and it was written by James Krieg. Sam Liu is probably the most prolific director of animated films when it comes to the superhero medium. He's done work for Marvel back when Marvel were putting out their direct home video animated movies, and he did some of the better ones. Well, to me, he did all the good ones that they had at the time, and then he came over. He was working for both sides simultaneously, directing and storyboarding, doing different work for the two studios. And just since Marvel has cut back over the years on doing their animated releases, he's become a mainstay and really their go-to director for these animated features at this point. And he pretty much directs, if not every film, like every other film. He primarily, he's done different ones for other characters, but he's primarily known as their go-to director for the Batman animated releases at this point. A lot of his work has been under the helm of the Batman character, so it's only fitting that he directs this. We have a star-studded cast. We have Bruce Greenwood doing the role as Bruce Wayne and Batman. We have Jennifer Carpenter as Selena Kyle, John DiMaggio as Chief Bullock in Big Bill Dusk. We have Bray DeLeslie as Sister Leslie and / Jason Todd. We have Anthony Head as Alfred Pennyworth, Bob Joles as Mayor Tolliver, Yuri Lowenthal as Harvey Dent, Lincoln Melcher as Dickie or Dick Grayson, Scott Patterson as James Gordon, William Slayers as Hugo Strange, Tara Strong as Marlene Mahone / Tim Grayson, and we also have Tim Drake, excuse me, and we have Kari, I hope I pronounced this correctly, Word as Barbara Gordon / Pamela Isley. And they all did a tremendous job. It's not the hugest voice cast we've seen on one of these animated films, but it still worked very effectively. I didn't know how I felt about Bruce Greenwood doing a voice for Batman. I always think of him as Lieutenant Pike from the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies, doing acting as Pike. So voice acting, I haven't really been familiar with his work, but he did a really good job, though it kind of seemed a little out of place because he really plays a younger version of Bruce Wayne than you would see him playing like an older, more weathered version of Batman. But it really worked extremely well for the movie, and I totally bought into it. In the current DC 52 stories that they do for the DC animated universe. They've used Jason Amara, and it took a while to get used to him doing the voice of Batman, but he grew on me over time. But Bruce Greenwood fit very nicely into this story and was very believable. There was no adjustment period. He just really fit extremely well, and I felt like he did a great job as carrying Bruce Wayne and Batman throughout this film. And if you're unfamiliar with the base story, this movie is set in a Victorian age time in a Gotham, a fictitious, Gotham that's during the Victorian age. In the original graphic novel, I believe it was set in London. And the crux of the story is Batman versus Jack the Ripper. He's trying to track Jack the Ripper down from killing the females and to stop him. And it's set in this Victorian age steampunk type era. And again, like I said, I was never drawn to the source material, and it was just something that's always just kind of not been in the forefront for me. But I have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I felt like the animation was strong. One thing I could always say that can be done a little bit better is that the animation it gets a little wonky at certain spots and parts, and it's kind of a symptom for the DC animated films, is that they have very minimal budgets. They pump out about 3 of these movies a year now, so they don't have the largest budgets. They got to keep the budgets low to actually get a good return on investment. So it's kind of one of those things I've gotten accustomed to when it comes to the DC animated films, but I'm glad they're still around and they still put them out, and that they're now expanding to these great Elseworld stories. I would love to eventually see them tackle something like Kingdom Come or Superman Red Planet, the Superman Red Sun, the Elseworld story with Superman where he crashes in Russia, not America. So it allows for more diversity and them to pump them out. But you can see at certain parts and pockets in the movie that the animation will kind of get a little spotty. It's not as strong as it might be in the beginning or towards the ending of the movie. And it's just a byproduct of limited budgets, and they have to pick and choose their spots wisely on the effects and the finished animation and how tight animation is at parts. So it's just kind of what you got to deal with, and I've gotten accustomed to it as I'm a huge fan of these movies. I own at least half of the 20 some odd movies they put out, probably more at this point. So you see it just being an overall symptom of limited budgets, and they got to turn these around and make sure they make profit so they can put the next one out, and so on and so forth. The story is extremely strong. Again, I've never read the source material. I've seen a few different reviews saying some people favor this the animated story over the actual original graphic novel that was released. Because this was released back in I want to say, Gotham By Gaslight came out like the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. It's been a while. When it was originally released, I'm trying to think, and it's escaping me. But it's been around for a while. So, and it wasn't a huge graphic novel. So it was rather like a short story that they developed out into a 90-minute story, and I liked the way they did it. It was nice twists and turns. Like I said, another thing I can kind of give it a ding on that I wasn't extremely happy with is that this was another one of their animated releases that was rated R. When it released. Okay, I'm a 42-year-old man. It doesn't bother me as far as a viewing standard, but I'm a grandfather, so I always kind of look at that opposite side of ratings of things. I felt like this movie didn't have to be rated R, because it's dealing with Jack the Ripper. Some of the kill scenes is a little bit over the top gratuitous than what it needed to be, but it seems like this is a trend. They're trending more towards rated R releases. And I mean, they do have in their Warner Brothers animation, not the DC animated universe, because they kind of have divisioned it off. They do some just kid-focused, stories that are for younger audiences. A series of movies I've reviewed on my audio podcast of Comic Book Savant were like the Batman Unlimited, that are just clearly marketed towards little kids. I think they've really set their stance now in the ground that these animated films, these DC Elseworld and the current comic stories, that they're going to be rated R from now on. Because we've had The Killing Joke. I think Batman and Harley was also rated R. Now this one, this is the last three they released have all been rated R films. And I think that's the trend. I felt like this could have been easily, with a few quick edits, not a lot of gratuitous blood splashes here and there, that it could have been easily PG-13 at the most. But it seems that they're going in a specific direction, and that's the direction they're going to go in now. They're marketing to us as adults and not kind of that general family audience, which, again, as I don't mind, because these are stories that I read. It's not everything is suited for general audiences. So, but I feel like this was a little bit gratuitous for gratuity's sake, just to slap that rated R label on it. That's just my opinion. It didn't prohibit my enjoyment of the movie at all. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was able to pick it up a couple of weeks ago. I caught it on sale on iTunes for like $10. I grabbed it. I had seen some reviews. My friend Heath Holland over at Serial at Midnight, I'll have a link down below. He reviewed it because, you know, again, it was a story that I never read. It really wasn't on my radar. Even when the animated release came out, I saw it and I was like, you know, it looked interesting, but I knew none of the history related to the story. And when I saw it on sale, and based on his review, he liked it a lot. I decided, hey, $10, I'll grab it and check it out. And I'm glad I did, because I really enjoyed it. So I definitely have to give this 2 thumbs up. Have to highly recommend it. It's a darker tone story. It's not light, fair. And like I said, it is rated R. So, you know, make sure, you know, you take that in mind if you have small kids, that you know, subject matter is a little bit heavier and mature, so you definitely want to keep it out of the reach of kids. But again, definitely recommend it. Like, share, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. Also, click the notification bell down at the bottom so you'll be notified whenever I drop new videos. I've been recovering from illness, so that's why it's kind of been a little break. Normally, I release at least 1 video a week. I'm going to be upping that as the next few months proceeds. You'll start seeing more and more content, you know, on the YouTube channel, more than just once a week. I definitely have a lot of stuff coming down the pike, more movie reviews, you know, animated film reviews, as well as theatrical releases. We just came off of Black Panther, which that video dropped not too long ago. Then we have Infinity War that's coming down the pike, and gosh, everything else that's coming this summer. It's going to be a crazy summer of movies. All those type of releases will be here. Also have some comic book television show reviews that's going to be coming down the pike as well. So be on the lookout for it all here on Comic Book Savant Video. You guys have a good week, and I'll see you next time. Take care.